I'm assuming you'll pay rent.
prioritize or say that, you know, if you're dealing with windows, you have to go through landmarks. But some of the others, like Century Gardens or Glenview,
Prorated closing.
Valentine, Evergreen, are saying, dealing with windows, you have to go through landmarks. That's how
I
it
just
is.
wondered how that
That's
explains
how
it. So that's just really how they increase
Sales
their
quota.
business.
Just sales quota.
Okay. Hey.
I will send you a link so you can read more about them, because I'm sure you'll see more copies, but I can, like, I emailed them. 'Cause they are a hedge fund type company. They're not interested in the long-term,
Okay.
to me, investment
Yes.
of a neighborhood.
Okay. Good afternoon. The Memphis Landmarks Commission is hereby called to order for its regularly scheduled meeting of October, what's it? 28th, 2021. My name is Joy Doss, and I'm the Vice Chair of the Commission. Mr. Brett Ragsdale serves as the Executive Secretary of the Commission. Mr. Ragsdale, can I get a roll call?
Yes, Madam Chair. Ms. Strong,
Present.
Ms. Payne,
Present.
Ms. Boyd,
Here.
Mr. Gill, Chair Doss.
Present.
We have a quorum.
The Memphis Landmarks Commission and the local historic district provisions are established to ensure preservation of structures that are of historic value to Memphis. Our function is to preserve significant resources, enhance community pride, and foster civic beauty and ensure compatibility within designated historic districts. The commission is authorized to review projects and determine their appropriateness based on the design review guidelines. At this time, I would like to swear in staff. You may remain seated. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. May I get a motion to approve the minutes from last month's meeting? Please. I need a motion for last month's minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes
Is there a
for
second?
September's meeting.
A second.
Thank you. Please note that. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It does not look like anyone is opposed. Mr. Secretary, please provide us a secretary's report if there is one, and then explain the procedure for the meeting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do not have a secretary's report for this month, so I will go to the procedures.
Okay?
The procedure for this meeting will be as follows. I'll introduce each case as listed on the agenda. Copies of the agenda are found on the right podium in front. For each case, staff of the Division of Planning and Development will give a presentation. At the conclusion of the staff presentation, the applicant will have 5 minutes to present his or her case. After the applicant's presentation, the commission will hear first from those speakers in support of the application, then from those speakers in opposition to the application, and the speakers will have 3 minutes each. And then finally, the applicant will have 3 minutes to provide rebuttal. These times do not include time for questions from or and answers to members of the commission. The chairwoman may provide additional time provided both sides are given an equal amount of additional time. All parties who wish to provide testimony to the commission will be sworn in by the chairwoman. If a member of the audience wishes to provide testimony in support or in opposition to a particular case on today's agenda, He or she will need to fill out a speaker's card for the record. Speaker's cards are available at the front podium. Once filled out, speaker's cards can be submitted to any DPD planner at the left podium. We do not need speaker's cards from the applicants since their names are already part of the record. After all parties have been heard, the commission will close the public hearing, make a motion, and then deliberate on the case. All motions by this commission will be made in the affirmative. The bylaws governing the commission require the affirmative vote of a majority of the attending members to approve an application. The commission may also vote to hold an application for a period of 1 month. Madam Chair, I submit that all cases have been filed in proper order, all applicants have been notified of this hearing, and all notice requirements have been fulfilled.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. We'll now establish a consent agenda. To establish the consent agenda, the Secretary will call out each eligible case. If any member of the audience or the commission objects to a case being placed on the consent agenda, he or she should do so by a show of hands when the Secretary calls the case. Once the consent agenda is established, the commission will vote on all the cases placed on the consent agenda as a whole and will not hold individual public hearings on each case. Mr. Secretary, which items are eligible for consent?
Item number 1, COA 2021-142, 1055 Evergreen Street in Valentine, Evergreen Historic District. And we want to add a friendly amendment, condition number 5, to state add minimum 2-inch overhang at front porch slab. So that'll be on consent with that friendly amendment.
At
Item number-
2-inch overhang at?
At front porch slab.
Okay.
Item number 4, COA 2021-151, 660 Maury Street in the Valentine Evergreen Historic District. And item number 5, 2021-152, 1743 Jackson Avenue in the Valentine Evergreen Historic District. We will hear items, if the consent agenda is approved, we will hear items number 2, because we do want to hear from the applicant on specifics about some window replacement details. Item number 3 for the same reason, and item number 6 because we do have a speaker in opposition to that case.
Okay, so that is, for those in the audience, item number 1, item number 4, and item number 5. I don't see any objections. By anybody, no one? Okay, we will now vote on the consent agenda. All those in favor, say aye.
Oh, Madam Chair, we
Did I
do
skip something?
need
I'm sorry.
a motion in a second.
I'm sorry, we need to make a motion, I'm sorry. We're making a motion to approve the consent agenda, please.
Second.
Oh, I didn't hear the first one.
You want me to make the motion?
Yes, please.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. I would like to remind the commission that by voting on the consent agenda, he or she affirms that he or she has read the staff report and is in full agreement with the conditions. May I get a roll call?
Yes. Ms. Strong? Ms. Payne?
Yes.
Mr. Gill?
Yes.
Ms. Boyd?
Yes.
Chair Doss?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. If you're here for any of these cases listed on the consent agenda, again, that's number 1, COA 2021-142, number 4, COA 2021-151, and number 5, COA 2021-152. You have been approved. You don't have to stay at the meeting if you're in full agreement. And if you're good, we're good. Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Yes.
I would like to state that the minor COA applications as listed on the agenda have been reviewed and approved by the commission. The commission will now continue with the regular hearing of the major COA applications as listed on the agenda. Mr. Secretary, please call the first case.
Yes, Madam Chair. The first case is item number 2, COA 2021-145, 1097 North Belvedere Boulevard, Valentine, Evergreen Historic District.
Is the applicant present? Okay. Can you step forward, please? to the podium. Please state your name and address for the record.
Carlos Herrera,
And address, please.
Windows USA.
Your address. I'm sorry, your address, please.
Oh, my address is 111 Labella Bay in Hot Springs, Arkansas.
Okay, can you raise your hand? Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Do you agree with the staff reporting and conditions? Have you had a chance to read it?
Yes, I have. The only, I was informed that we were going to be going, the original order called for tan, the color tan windows. We were going to go back with the original color, which was white, and then the full colonial lights were taken care of.
And Ms. Tizell, you can maybe answer that. Did we condition it to be white? I don't recall on this one, but.
No, we didn't had any condition regarding the window color.
Okay, so Madam Chair, if that is amenable to the commission, we can add that as a condition. Do you want to hear a presentation on this? I think the main reason we wanted to hear this case and the next one is because we are conditioning these to be true divided lights, which the design guidelines require, and we just want to confirm with the manufacturer and the applicant that is the intention. And so we can also adjust the window color if there's, Mr. Zell does not have any
Can we
issues
make
with
that a
that.
condition?
Let's go ahead and hear it. Is everybody in agreement with that? Okay.
And can we go on and add that as a condition for the windows to be white?
Yep.
Uniformity, thank you.
Do we need to make a motion for the condition?
Do you want to hear the presentation?
Yes.
Yes.
We can do that.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. Aisha Teza with the Division of Planning and Development. Item before you is a request for exterior alterations to replace 6 of the existing windows with new vinyl windows in Valentine Evergreen Historic District. Subject property is a non-contributing structure located on the west side of North Belvedere Boulevard in Valentine Evergreen Avalon neighborhood area. This image from Google 2019 shows the subject property view from Belvedere Boulevard in its existing condition. Applicant is proposing to replace existing windows with custom-made vinyl windows. These photos were provided by the applicant showing various windows which are to be replaced. Proposed exterior alterations found to be partially adhering to Valentine Evergreen design guidelines. We noted that the application does not provide any information regarding the sash components dimensions and does not indicate if the replacement windows will have true divided lights. Staff recommends approval of the COA application with 2 conditions as stated in the staff report, page 6. First one, to have the option, for applicant to have the option to have either double hung windows with true divided lights or double hung windows with 1/1 without any grid pattern, and any change or deviation from approved COA to be submitted to the commission for review and approval. This concludes my staff presentation. I would be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Do we need to?
Well, I believe that if the applicant understands the conditions and doesn't have an issue, I think you asked if we need to make a motion with the condition of the being
yeah.
quiet. Yeah, we could do that. Whoever makes the motion could add that as condition number 3. And that way we could make sure it's incorporated into the COA.
Okay. Are you in agreement with all of the conditions?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is there, it doesn't look to be, but is there any opposition here or anyone in support? Okay, well, we can close this part of it and move, oh, I'm sorry.
I have a question.
Okay. Your mic isn't on.
I just had one question for staff. In the staff report, and I know you just mentioned that the structure was non-contributing, but at the time when the National Register nomination was done, which was April 1997 was when it was stamp dated by the National Park Service, the property at that time was 47 years old. And I'll start over. It was, you just mentioned in your staff report and also in the written staff report that the structure was considered non-contributing. However, I do think it's important to note that at the time the National Register nomination was done, this property was 47 years old. It was stamp dated by the National Park Service, April 24th, 1997. So it was 3 years short of reaching the 50-year mark. Right now in 2021, it's actually 71 years old. At the time when they were doing National Register nominations back then, they did not designate whether it was non-contributing because of age or non-contributing because there had been exterior moderations to the point that the architectural integrity had been impacted. In this case, it is because of age. So I do think it's important to note that the structure was considered non-contributing because it was short 3 years of hitting the 50-year mark, but it is contributing to the existing street and the existing street block. So I just think it's important to note that it is not because of exterior alterations or modifications to the extreme.
Thank you. Are there any other questions, comments? Okay. Okay, we'll now close the public hearing portion of the case, and the commission will further discuss. May I please get a motion?
Motion to discuss COA 2021-145.
We have to make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve for the purposes of discussion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? No? Okay, do we want to add the friendly amendment? Would you like to make a motion for the friendly amendment? You see.
Motion for the friendly amendment, as stated that the exterior windows alterations to replace the 6 windows will be in the color white for uniformity.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. The motion has been made and seconded. Do we move to a vote?
Ms. Boyd?
Yes.
Mr. Gill?
Yes.
Ms. Payne?
Yes.
Ms. Strong?
Yes.
And Chair Doss?
Yes.
Motion carries. And our next case is similar with the same applicant and possibly similar discussions, is item number 3, COA 2021-150, 1900 Jackson Avenue in the Valentine Evergreen Historic District.
Would anybody like to hear this case? Or actually, have you read the case and are you in agreement with the conditions on this one?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Would anybody like to hear the case?
Yes, I would, definitely.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item before you is a request for exterior alterations to replace 22 existing windows with new vinyl windows in Olentane Evergreen Historic District. Subject property is located on the north side of Jackson Avenue in Valentine Evergreen neighborhood area. This image from Google 2019 shows the subject property view from Jackson Avenue looking north. This is a contributing structure to Valentine Evergreen National Register District, described as a 1.5-story Tudor-style English cottage built in 1928. Applicant is proposing to replace 22 of the existing windows with new custom-made vinyl windows. These photos were provided by the applicant showing the various existing windows which are to be replaced. Windows on the front south facade have diamond grids 12/1, and windows on the side elevations have 6/1 windows. Additionally, at the southeast corner of the structure, there is possibly a sunroom with rectangular casement windows with arched top windows on top of them, which are original to the structure. Proposed alterations partially adhere to Valentine Evergreen design guidelines. We noted that the application does not provide enough information regarding the dimensions of the sash components of the replacement windows and does not indicate if the replacement windows will have true divided lights. The staff recommends approval of the COA request with 3 conditions as stated in staff report page 6. First condition, to have all replacement windows to match existing in terms of style, size, and grid patterns. Second condition, to have replacement windows true divided lights and not snap-in muntins or in-between glass muntins. And the third one, to have any change or deviation from the approved COA to be submitted to the Memphis Landmarks Commission for review and approval. This concludes my staff presentation. I will be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Does anyone have questions for staff? Any questions for the applicant?
I have a question, and this just comes from lack of understanding, but please forgive me. And my question is that if you're replacing the windows with vinyl windows, and according to the guidelines, that it dramatically changes the character of the property. Are vinyl windows the only replacement that could be recommended?
Those are our replacement windows are all vinyl. I will give you this bit of information. Our vinyl windows have a wider frame than a normal vinyl window, which very much resembles a wood window with a wider frame. So it's, when you're driving past and you look at it, you'd have to really be on the window to even tell it's vinyl because of the style of the frame and how the window is actually custom manufactured.
So the vinyl window will have the grids and the diamond
Yes, ma'am.
shapes?
We're a custom manufacturing company, so we are custom making those diamond pattern grids for that, specifically for that home, to make sure it runs with the...
Okay, I just wanted a clarity on that because it is a beautiful home.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
And I would
totally
hate
understand.
for it to lose that character.
Well, any time that I've been in a home that has wood windows and the customer is, I mean, right whenever you start talking to them, their first concern is if it's going to take away the style of a wood window. And how, well, one, our windows are all double hung, which most wood windows in homes of that age will be double hung wood windows. So our windows are double hung, and the size of the width of the frame and everything is a lot wider than just a regular contractor grade window. So it closely resembles a wood old style window like that.
Thank you for the clarity.
Thank you.
I have a follow-up question. You said the frame is thicker, but what about the grid patterns or the profile of the grid patterns that we see in different windows? Here, the example is diamond shaped, but you have examples of where you have 3/1 or you have prairie style. So does your company do vinyl windows like in the prairie style or the 3/1, or is it just mostly the 1/1?
I'm not sure if I correctly understood you. It's hard for me to hear.
My question was, you mentioned that the profile or the frame of the window is thicker, mimicking a wood window.
Yes.
And I was asking you about, for example, the grid pattern or the profile of that. So, for example, you have the diamond here. There were some pictures of 6/1. And then we also see examples of windows where the wood windows where the profile is 3/1, or it could be a prairie style window, prairie/1. And my question to you is the vinyl windows in terms of your product. Do you sell like 3/1? Do you sell 6/1 or the prairie style? Or is it simply like a 1/1? And you said this was custom where it's going to be diamond or diamond shape.
A majority of what we sell is 1/1 or 6/1 or 8/1. But we're custom making those diamond grid patterns to match what is existing in the home right now.
So for example, from the case we just came from, which had casement windows, do you all make casement windows
Yes,
for
ma'am.
vinyl?
Yes, we do.
And so in that case, the replacement of casement windows for casement windows,
Yes, we can. We can replace casement windows with casement windows if that's what was originally in the window. We do offer casement windows as well.
so the recommendation for the previous case on North Belvedere, why was that not recommended for casement over casement?
Windows, if I'm not mistaken, were in a sunroom, and I'm not sure that we're even replacing those windows. Was that on what was the address of the previous
1097 North Belvedere.
North Belvedere? Mm-hmm. See, we're only replacing 6 windows on the North Belvedere residence, and I don't believe those are casement windows.
I was just asking in terms of uniformity, if the architectural feature or predominant architectural feature, an example was the casement windows, and they were replacing them for uniformity, and the casement windows are what really bring out that property. That's what I was wondering about or asking.
If I'm understanding you right, are you saying the windows that we're replacing were originally casement windows?
I'm saying the predominant features on the previous property, when you look at the big picture window in the front of the house and the side windows, they were casement windows. And I was just saying, if placing 6 in terms of when you look at that house, the predominant feature was the casement windows in terms of uniformity or consistency. That's all. I was just wondering.
Okay.
But getting back to this one on Jackson. And so was there ever discussion, since the front of the house has the diamond shape, was there ever discussion since they were replacing all 22 just to do diamond all around for consistency or uniformity?
My understanding is the front of the home will have the diamond grids in the front of the home, and then the rest of the windows are supposed to be 1/1 without the grids. Is that correct?
But some of them are not 1/1. That's why I'm asking in terms of, in other words, it's like a mixed match. And you have an opportunity to either continue mismatch or you have an opportunity for consistency and uniformity. The diamond-shaped windows or pattern, it's a predominant architectural feature on the house.
Yes,
and it matches that Tudor Revival Craftsman style. And so I was just asking if 22 is a high number. And if you're going through all of that to replace 22, the diamond shaped, I was just curious, was there ever discussion about just doing diamond shaped all around since you're in the process of replacing 22?
I don't believe that was ever discussed. In most houses that I'm familiar with, the grid pattern will be a lot of times different in the front than on the side and the back of the home. By looking at these pictures, I see that we have a diamond grid pattern on the front, and then we have 6/1 on the side of the house. So we can custom make these windows however they need to be made to stay within the recommendations of this area.
Well, I would suggest going forward. I think it's important to recognize how consistency and uniformity, and particularly when these homes were built, it tends to be consistent front and around. Now, things do change over the years, and so people do replace windows, but if there is an opportunity for uniformity and consistency, I think that's something to take into account.
Is it open discussion right now? Okay.
Well, do you have questions for the applicant or staff? Go ahead.
know if it's well, I'll just, coming off of what Natasha said, I mean, I think that's an excellent point. The diamond pattern in the front with the 6/1 on the side, I think that should be specified, that the grid pattern should match what's there now, which I think is what is as written, even though it's not explicit. I do disagree though, Natasha, just considering these windows look original to me, and the house originally didn't have diamonds on the side, just in the front, and I think that should be maintained, and that's what the guidelines support, but I appreciate what you're saying, and I'm glad you brought it up, because I didn't think about that not being specified in the guideline, or in this application. So I think it's important that the 6/1 is maintained on the sides and the diamond panes in the front.
Okay.
That's just my opinion for discussion.
And I will say, if we do need to clarify the condition we have, because our condition states, I believe it's roughly speaking or paraphrasing, that the windows will be replaced and match existing, I think. So if that's not clear enough, that was our intention, is that the original windows that are there would be replaced in kind with the same grid pattern that is there. And so I think that's what he has agreed to, or the applicant has agreed to. So, but if
Sounds
there's
good.
any ambiguity there, then we can clear that up with the motion.
Are you saying it should be more specific?
Well, you just mentioned the 1/1 on the side, I thought, unless I misheard.
Excuse me?
Did you say 1/1 on the side?
On the side.
Or 6/1?
We had 1/1.
Okay.
No grids at all is what my paperwork says right now, except for the windows in the front of the house.
Yeah, and our condition stated that the windows would be replaced to match what is existing. So we want to make sure you understand the conditions and agree to those.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I definitely agree to that.
Okay, so we can add some specificity to that then. The diamond grid in the front, 6/1 for the remainder of the windows? Is that correct?
Well, I mean, I would prefer, and I think Ms. Tizell can respond to this as well, but I think we would prefer to try to get it to say, to match what is there, just in case there is anything different. There may be, I would rather match the original windows that are there. And I mean, I think the condition is clear, but I think with some of the discussion, it may have been confusing. So if the condition is clear the way it stands and we've cleared that up, then we could just leave it as it is and just move forward.
Okay. So, are we clear on the condition that they just remain the same?
Yes, we can remain the same as it is right now.
Okay.
I will have them change orders 6/1 on the remaining windows to match the existing ones that are there now.
Okay.
And isn't there a stained glass window on one of the windows? Isn't it stained glass?
I'm sorry.
Is there a stained glass window?
I don't see a stained glass window on any of the pictures. I don't believe there is a stained glass window.
I believe there is.
If I may, I believe it was a topic of discussion during the design review meeting that the small window that is above the front door of the house was not to be replaced because it wasn't something that the applicant wanted to be replaced.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
it was going to remain.
In most of my experience,
there he is.
most of the time we will the stained glass window, we even recommend for homeowners to keep the stained glass window to keep the look, the original look of the home.
Excuse me, it's page 26 of the staff report. I was just curious.
Oh, let me see.
It's page 26.
Oh, okay.
But the stained glass remains, correct?
That's what I was just curious about what you're going to do with that window since it was different. It had the extra stained glass. That's what I was curious about.
Are there any other questions for staff? Or the applicant? All hearts and minds clear. Okay. Oh, the stained glass window is untouched. Yeah. You look like you're about to say something. Were you about to say something? Oh, okay, I was waiting, okay. All righty. So with that being said, we can move forward in this process. And there does not look to be any support or opposition. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So we move forward. For a vote or discussion? More discussion or a vote? We'll close the public hearing portion of the case and we'll move into discussion. Can I get a motion to approve docket number COA 2021-150?
I motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. It has been properly moved and seconded. Is there more discussion?
Appreciate the rep coming out and working with the staff.
Thank you.
Can we get a vote?
Yes. Ms. Strong?
Yeah.
Ms. Payne?
Yes.
Ms. Boyd?
Yes.
Mr. Gill?
Yes.
And Chair Doss?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Mrs. Secretary, can you call the next case, please?
Next case is item number 6, COA 2021-154, 1781 Forest Avenue, Evergreen Historic District.
Is the applicant present? Can you step forward, please?
Hey, how y'all doing?
Hello. Can you state your name and address for the record?
Wesley Brown, 1781 Forest Avenue.
Okay. Can you raise your hand? Raise your hand. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Secretary, have you had a chance to read the report? Sorry. And are you in agreement with the conditions?
Yes.
Okay. We do have some opposition, so we'll need to hear the case.
Okay.
Ms. Tizell, we'll need to hear the case.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Item before you is an exterior alteration request to infill one of the 2 existing front doors of the subject structure and to enclose existing exposed rafter tails. Subject property is located on the southwest corner of Forest Avenue and Hawthorne Street in Evergreen Historic District. Subject property is considered as a contributing structure to Evergreen Historic District and described as a 1.5-story airplane bungalow built in 1926. This image shows the property view from Forest Avenue looking south. The front door in question is visible right here to the right side of the front facade between the front porch and 2 existing windows. This image, again from 2019, shows the left facade of the structure with exposed rafter details, which are visible at the front porch area and the second story towards the rear of the structure. We determined that the door that is to be closed is not an original opening based on the site visit we conducted. And the photo that is taken from the inside of the home shows that the door framing was infilled and it was originally at the same height as the windows. And we assumed that this opening originally had a 3rd window similar to the windows right here on the right facade. These images on top of the screen shows the original condition of the exposed rafter detail of the structure. And the image below here shows the existing condition, which was enclosed, those rafter tail details. Based on the site visit and the design guidelines, we found that the proposed exterior alterations are partially in compliance with Evergreen design guidelines. The subject door opening is not an original to the existing home. Therefore, it is appropriate to be altered. However, exposed rafter tails are a significant architectural characteristic of this structure and should be preserved. We recommend approval of this COA request with 3 conditions as stated in the staff report, page 13. The first one, to have the door on the right side of the front facade to be infilled with a window that matched the existing, and the remaining parts of the infill to be filled out with brick that matched the original in terms of size, color, and mortar details. Second condition, to have rafter tails to remain open and to be repaired appropriately to retain their original characteristics. This concludes my staff presentation. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Tizell. Does anyone have any questions for staff or the applicant? Okay, we do have a speaker card for opposition. So let's go ahead and call him. You can have a seat till he finishes. You'll have an opportunity to rebut afterwards. Mr. Jones? Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Thank you. Don Jones, 1763 Peach Avenue, Memphis, Tennessee. 38112, representing the Evergreen Historic District Association.
Okay, can you raise your hand, please?
Thank you, and good afternoon.
I'll just swear you in.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep. Do you swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you?
I do.
And you have, I think, 3 minutes?
3 minutes, which goes fast, as I've learned the hard way. Thank you, Chair Lady Dawson, members of the commission, for this time. We want to thank Aisha and the rest of the staff for their hard work on this item, as is true for all of the items on your agenda. You have, with this request, or with this application, 2 requests, 2 parts. The first part was permission to enclose rafter tails. The second part to enclose a door space back to, as we're learning, back to a window. Evergreen finds that we are in support of one part of the recommendation today and not in support of a second. We agree with the landmark staff that rafter tails are an important architectural element that should not be covered up. We found 2 different sections of the EHDA guidelines to support that, and we support the landmark staff recommendation to not allow that part of the request. The second request, as Landmarks has done some great work on to show us, really should have been a window or really was a window. We find at this time we cannot support that recommendation because we've seen no drawings. We've seen nothing to review. You have nothing as late as today to review and tell you, other than words on paper, what that's going to look like. That is not the landmarks process. We feel this is a subversion of the application process, not an indictment on staff. They have to work with what they have to work with, but just part of the issues that we've had on this property, both before this applicant ever took hold, but to go into a little bit of timeline with you, issues that we've had even since. Mr. Penson's distributed to you on my behalf a timeline that we put together. It's just a quick few pages. This property was in bad shape when this applicant took it over, and we were grateful and excited that someone was taking it on. A member of our planning committee, Mr. Michael Seeker, met out on the site and had a great dialogue. Mr. Griffin and Mr. Brown also included some emails to us, and we felt like we were on a great roll. On August the 12th, I sent a letter on behalf of the planning committee with them with any plans that they have on this property. Unfortunately, after that time period, not much of a dialogue. And in fact, and unfortunately, as the pictures show, my letter to the applicant is on page 3. On page 4, the picture shows what was a somewhat aggressive rehabilitation of the property in its interior, which they're entitled to do, and removal of windows, and some key things there that we want you to take note of. On pages 5 and 6, things escalated during the Labor Day weekend, and this would be Friday through Monday. Monday was actually Labor Day, where some additional things happened on the second story, including removing an entire part of the wall of the upper airline. Excuse me, I'll get it out in a minute. Of the upper airplane part of the bungalow, removal of windows, and then behind that, the installation of framing on that second story. None of this was permitted.
Excuse me, Mr. Jones, I'm sorry, your time is up. Do you have any final thoughts before we bring the applicant back?
We do have some conditions to propose. If you will allow me the time to propose those.
Can we do it in like 30 seconds-ish?
30 seconds, okay. Condition number 1 would be to restore the 9/1 windows, whether you call them buttons, mullions, snap-ons, when new windows are put back in. The second condition would be that no COA should be issued unless and until the unpermitted work on the second story is restored in its previous condition. And third, we'd like for the staff to share the COA with the Evergreen Historic District Association. With that, Madam Chair, members of the commission, I do thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Mr. Brown. Comments, questions, concerns?
Yeah, so in regards to like the Rafter tails, it was just kind of like an image that I felt like would look better on the property. Some parts of the property has closed Rafter tails, some of them have open. I just felt like it looked more if it was consistent. I mean, if there's an issue with the district in regards to open or close, it really doesn't matter to me, but I just felt like I'm just thinking, I do a lot of houses, but I'm just thinking like if one part of the house, like you were just stating about the windows, if I have this particular type of grid on this particular side of the house, why would I change it on this side? So that was the first thing that I guess you say that's my rebuttal. As far as the front entrance, this house was originally a duplex. So you have 2 front entry doors. It's really not necessary to have 2 front entry doors on a property. So that's why I made the recommendation. I wanted to make the change to close out the existing door that he showed in the picture and just fill it in with the window. I chose that door because it just seemed more feasible for the job and really as far as like the structure of the property. I spoke with Brett in regards to the work that we were doing as far as like the pop out on the top, which wasn't approved. I'm fine with restoring that back to how it was. I tried to do that before the meeting, but unfortunately I can't get the full building permit to do that until I have you guys' approval to go back to do the work on the house. So we went back to restore the structure like it was, but we were stopped because the permit couldn't be issued until we had this meeting today.
Any other questions of the applicant? No?
It sounds like you are in agreement. And the neighborhood associations really couple of issues that they have.
Mm-hmm.
I can support this if they went along with. I don't think that Don's asking for too much, when especially if the applicant's not against what the neighborhood's asking for. Do y'all feel the same way? Are there any other changes that y'all think?
So is he wanting pretty much to say like the open rafter tails to stay open? Does he want me to go back and reopen all of the other ones that were already closed? So
The
that's
condition,
original-
well, that's already in the condition. The condition says the rafter tails should remain open and repaired appropriately to retain their original characteristics. Now, I don't know if that means does that mean he has to open the ones that are closed as well? So yes, are you in agreement with that?
No.
Okay. What next?
Why not? Why aren't you in agreement with that?
I mean, this property, I don't know how long it's been sitting there, was in, like he said, like terrible shape. I mean, in my opinion, it was kind of almost at a point to where it could potentially be torn down. I mean, as far as like a rafter tails, like the rafter tails that were originally open, that's the original structure of the house. The ones that are closed, that is the original structure of the house. So if we're thinking about keeping it as is for the historic district or keeping everything in line to what's already there, why should I be held responsible to going back and changing what's already there that's been approved for years?
Where are the rafter tails that are closed? Where are they located on the property?
The rafter tails that are closed, if you can pull up the front picture, you can see.
That were originally closed. That were originally closed on the property. Where are they located? The ones you're saying that were originally closed.
Yeah, that's what I'm referring to. So you can see the only rafter tails that are open are predominantly on the sides of the property. This back piece on the end, that is a part that I did close at the bottom back half because I originally wanted to close those. As you can see, like at the top of the property, those are open. But if you look at the front, all of those are originally closed. And you can't see like that wood that's sticking out.
Can I clarify, are you talking about the eave on the front? Okay, and that is an exposed rafter tail.
It just has a cover over the front.
Yeah, I believe, just to clarify, and Ms. Dizelle can chime in on this as well, but our condition was intended to require that the rafter tails that were enclosed by the applicant be removed and repaired back to original. And I think that's the intent. I mean, I don't know if we can discuss that, but I think there may be some confusion in this, the terminology we're using, but the eaves, you know, if they were closed originally, I mean, we're not asking that they be changed or altered. Right. So, and I think that the applicant has agreed to
that's correct.
Go back to the original rafter tails that were exposed. So that would meet the condition that and I believe that meets the condition that the neighborhood requested.
Okay.
If you meet the condition suggested by staff, does that work for the neighborhood, Mr. Jones? That work for the neighborhood? I just want to know if they meet the requirements that staff has suggested, does that work for the neighborhood association? Yeah, okay, thank you, John.
Okay. Okay. And is there any other, did you have any other comments about the other? Oh, did you have a question? I'm sorry.
I have a question for the applicant. The addition that you've started on the top, is that an addition or a repair?
Yeah, to be honest with you, the house really has like a lot of wasted space. It has a very large basement. It has like 2 attics in the top. So it's like that attic could be an office, a bedroom, a bonus room. But in order to do that, if you look at like the front picture of the property, it kind of slopes down. And so if you wanted to add that and make it into a bedroom, you just need to slope it up and then close it off.
Is that what you're trying to do?
I would like to do that.
Because if that's the case, we would need to see drawings, you know, for proposed addition, unless I'm missing.
Well, just to clarify, that's not the intention. What the application is not to have that addition, is to restore it back to its original.
Okay.
If the applicant wanted to do, and we discussed that, if he wanted to do that, he would have, and he does have drawings of that.
Okay.
But that's why it's not in the application, because it's not actually what is part of the request.
Okay.
Is that possible? Because I only took it off the request because before we got here, I was told that it wouldn't even be anything that could be discussed.
It would need to be submitted for review.
Yeah, they told me to take it off.
What,
Okay.
I have a question for the applicant. I have, you,
I was just going to say, yeah, you can submit anything you would like to be reviewed and discussed. So that's not the case. I mean, you know, you weren't required to remove it. You were required to get approval for it. And so you're welcome to submit a new application for that addition at a later date if you'd like to. And I think that for this case, you know, we have these proposals, which are basically two proposals, and that's what we'll be voting on today.
Gotcha.
I think another one of the conditions that Mr. Jones stated, the removal of the windows, which were 6, either 9/1, particularly I know off of the Hawthorne side, are you amenable to replacing those?
Am I doing what now? The last
Are you in agreement with replacing back the windows that have been removed that were 9/1? I know there are windows that have been removed off of the Hawthorne side. There's just nothing there right now. So when you replace the windows in terms of consistency.
I'm trying to not really understand your question. I don't know if I can make out.
So, for example, one of his conditions of what he stated was there have been windows that have been removed from the property.
Okay.
If you look at the Hawthorne side, I think there are 2 or 3 windows that have been removed.
Okay.
In terms of consistency, when we look at the front side of the pictures, they are 9/1, meaning you have 9 grids or 9 little mini windows and 1 whole window on the bottom, which has no pattern, no grid or anything. Mm-hmm. So in terms of replacing what has been removed, particularly on the Hawthorne side, but elsewhere, if it's been removed at the property at 1781 Forest Avenue, are you replacing it back with 9/1 so it can be consistent?
Are you talking about like as far as like consistency with the grid lines?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm just getting clarification. I couldn't really make out. As far as like windows, I normally use just a clear glass.
So I'm talking about the pattern. So if we see those 4 windows right there.
Yes, ma'am. Clear.
An individual window has 9 little mini windows and it's over 1 clear window. So that's like a 9/1.
Okay.
There are windows by the fireplace on the Hawthorne side or wherever behind that tree. There are like 3 or 4 windows that have been removed from that side of the street. There are no windows there. It's open. There is nothing. It's not even boarded up.
Okay.
When you replace the windows, I'm just asking, one of the conditions that he stated was for those windows to be replaced back kind for kind, in kind, same for same. So it was 9/1 that was removed. Are you going to replace back the 9/1?
No, that wasn't in my plan to do the 9/1.
And if I
Why
might
not?
just clarify, so I think
Can you kind of help me with that?
Yeah, so I know that, so just to kind of give you a little bit of history in the way we review cases in the different districts, essentially. You know, some districts have very specific guidelines regarding replacement of doors and windows and just whatever, various things. And so when we get a case, what we are charged to do is review a case based on the guidelines and bring that case to you guys based on what we see in the guidelines, and which is what we do. And so I will say that in Evergreen, there is no mention of replacement of doors and windows. So what we have determined, and this may even go a little bit beyond the guidelines, but I think it's still appropriate, that what we do in Evergreen specifically, and others that do not, that are silent essentially on replacement of doors and windows, there is discussion about rhythm of openings and voids and things like that. So our determination has been that if there is a request to replace windows or doors, they should be and must be in the same size and location, and that's where we take it and bring it to you guys if necessary, because that's what essentially that's as far as we can go with the guidelines. Now, the commission can take that further and I was just discussing this with Mr. Whitehead, and there seems to be some ability for the commission to take other things into consideration when reviewing a case. So I think you still have to be a little bit careful about going further than you might go, but the commission can actually, take that a little further if it is something that is seen as, important. So we did not require that or condition that because it's not part of the guidelines. So that's why I think that, so I think that the condition proposed by Mr. Jones was that the windows would be replaced with the same grid pattern, so matching the grid pattern.
Make it a
So
condition.
if you wanted to agree to that, we could add that as a condition. If you wanted to discuss that or did not want to do that, then.
We're just gonna make it a condition of approval.
Sure.
I don't disagree. Just make it a condition of approval and let's move on.
Okay. So there was also mention of the work on the second floor work. And but that's not on the agenda for today, right? Mr. Jones mentioned second floor work. So we're not discussing that today.
Correct.
So we don't have to tackle that one.
It's not part of the application, so essentially that will have to be restored back to its original. And of course, as with any COA, any design that is, or any construction that is done, we have to review. And if we, see things that are out of, filter with the approved COA, or then we can, we have the option to put a stop work order on it. We have the option to not issue a certificate of occupancy. So we have those, tools in our tool chest, so to speak, to ensure the compliance with that. And so I think that Mr. Jones offered a potential condition that you guys can consider, that we would not issue a COA until that work was done. We didn't necessarily think that was required because essentially, and so I think there were two conditions that we see as already part of the process. So, but it's something that you guys can consider and add or adjust if you feel it's necessary. There is a little bit of a, catch-22 here where, we can make it work through, some communication through the process, but until he gets a COA, technically he can't get a building permit. Until he gets a building permit, he's not supposed to do any work.
He's in a loop.
It's a loop. So, I mean, in our, opinion, the COA for the Rafter tails and whatever you decide with the door does not preclude us from requiring that additional work. So, it's just a matter of how we want to work through the process. There are lots of ways to do it. Some are easier than others, but in the end, we still have all the tools available to us to make sure that those things are done appropriately.
So what's the best way to bring this to a resolution today and not make it harder than it has to be? Like where's the middle ground? Because, they have the stop work order. They're unable to get the proper, COA and all that stuff. So how do we not make it harder than it has to be?
Well, and might I suggest, if there aren't any other questions for the applicant, then I think we could close the public hearing, and then we could discuss the conditions that have been offered, and then get to a point where we have a motion that you all could consider and vote on.
Okay, that's fine. We're going to move to this.
Can I make a recommendation?
Yeah, go ahead.
I know I've dealt with other properties with Bridget Welsh. I think these were properties that were designated to be torn down. And for things like this that came up, I just provided, we had progress calls, or I provided pictures of where I restored whatever was there originally. And I could do this in that situation so it doesn't hold up the work on the property.
I think that would make ease the heartburn for the Evergreen, Historic District, the committee. What they wanted to do is restore the second floor.
Okay.
And then the 9/1 windows. So the 9 panes over the 1 pane.
So they do want me to do the 9?
The body seems to want to condition the 9 over 1.
And is that on all the windows or just those?
Well, I don't think all of them are 9 over 1, are they? Are all the windows 9 over 1?
My only issue is, I guess it's like right now with like construction and kind of due to like COVID, a lot of materials, like they take, like for instance, I'm building a property right now at 1032 North Parkway. Started building this house January. Today, I still don't even have windows. So you think these are gonna be like a special design, like custom type window that they don't just sell at like a Home Depot. So it's probably gonna take me probably like a year to get windows for this property. I'm just being honest.
That is valid, and it's definitely an issue with building.
Now, if I can get them, I'm totally fine with doing it because I do think they look nice. But just the kind of like where everything is right now, as far as me getting my hands on like specific materials for properties, is real tight.
I think the issue becomes maintaining the character, right? So
Gotcha.
the 9 over 1, where there are 9 over 1, I didn't look like all of them were 9 over 1. Some of them look to be different.
Yeah, some of them are different.
But where there are 9 over 1s, just kind of maintaining the character and restoring what was there for the 9 over 1. I mean, obviously we sympathize with your plight. I mean, materials are in shorthand right now. You know, even wood, all of it is in shorthand. So we get that. But the purpose of this commission is to make sure that we keep the character of the neighborhoods, historic neighborhoods, in place. So that's kind of where we are.
Yeah, I get it, but it's like, I mean, this house makes that neighborhood, makes that street, makes that corner look bad. I'm sure anybody in their commission would agree. And it's like, I don't know.
Just close the public portion of the meeting. There's no reason to continue discussion. We're gonna go with the 9 over 1. Let's vote. If he's gonna do anything to the roof, to that additional addition, he's gonna have to resubmit anyway. This at least gets him farther down the road to start work, at least on the inside of the house.
Okay. So we are going to close the public hearing part and move to discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all good with that? I mean, I'm having trouble getting windows that aren't 9 over 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Problem with
Can
all
you,
windows.
your mic?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm having trouble getting windows of all types right now. I mean, but that's 1 over 1 windows are hard to get. So I think that, like you said, our point is to maintain the character of this house. It's a very visible house. I think you're right about, we should make that a condition. Let's just make that a condition and vote on the way that it has been, that staff has also conditioned it. Do y'all agree? And then if he's going to do that addition, he'll have to come back.
Well, he's said he was okay with restoring the second floor.
Sure. And if he decides not to, he'll resubmit, come back.
Okay, so does anybody want to make that, move to approve the case with those 2 conditions? That the second floor is restored and the 9 over 1 windows are restored. Oh, the rafter tails it's already in there. So can we get a motion to approve with the 2 additional conditions? The 4th being restore the 9 over 1 windows. The 5th being restore the second floor to its original
State.
condition or original look.
Sure. Do you want to do it? You can do it.
Madam Chair, for the purposes of discussion, COA 2021-154, 1781 Forest Avenue. The motion is to restore the second floor to its original condition of the airplane bungalow. The second condition is replacing the 9 over 1 windows originally where they were.
That's it.
That's it.
May I I would suggest potentially doing the same condition we had on the last case with the windows, that instead of being specific about 9/1, to replace the windows with the, what is existing there to match what is existing. I think that's safer. That gets us, you know, a little leeway to make sure we're not, you know, requesting 9/1 when
Yes.
it was 12 or something.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you. Can we vote? Vote, oh, we're moving to vote. Any other discussion before we move to vote? Okay.
Okay. Ms. Boyd?
Yes.
Mr. Gill?
Yes.
Ms. Payne?
Yes.
Ms. Strong?
Yes.
Chair Doss?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Good luck with your windows and everything. Okay.
And Madam Chair, that was the last case on the agenda.
Okie dokie. Is there any new business or anything else?
No, but I will note, and I know you're going to mention the date of the next meeting, but since next month is November, is Thanksgiving, so we have a shortened time period between this meeting and next meeting. So it'll be on November the 8th, or 18th, I apologize. And I know you're aware of this, but, you know, that will give us a little bit less time to review cases and, you know, work with the applicants. We did get several cases in this past month. We just sent those out yesterday, so you should have received them. I don't recall any that are extremely difficult or potentially controversial. There are a couple that may need some discussion. So if the design review meeting could be really helpful to kind of help with that condensed time frame. So if you're available to attend that, that could help us all kind of get a little more up to speed quicker as we need to. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairwoman.
No problem. All right, the meeting is adjourned.